Today we're going to launch our next unit, which is Steinway and Sons. I happen to be the guy who wrote the book, so I feel qualified to talk about it. And the link to this unit is that as a result of the Erie Canal and all of the busyness on the Erie Canal, immigrants and entrepreneurs were drawn to New York. And when Steinway was leaving Germany, for reasons we'll talk about in this class later, New York was attractive. And it was attractive because there was money here, there was banking here, there was commerce here, there was trade, there were customers, and they could get their lumber here by the Erie Canal. So they decided to come here. They looked at other places. They looked at Philly, they looked at Boston. They were thinking of going to Havana. But they decided to come to New York in part because of the Erie Canal. So the connection of this unit that we're about to do is that this is one of the results of the Erie Canal is, hi Joseph, is bringing business and entrepreneurs to New York. And one of the businesses that we're focusing on and that I wrote about is Steinway. And the exciting part is that Steinway happens to be in Queens. So it has like a lot for us in this class. It's connected to the Erie Canal, connected to New York City. It brings us to Queens. And it's also my claim to fame. The book I wrote, which was published in 1995. And so that's the unit that we're going to be talking about. To launch this unit, I've picked two videos to show you. I've gone over that with Stephen Weinstein. And so what I want to do is show you the first video, and you use the chat room as we've done before, basically as you're watching the video to say, oh, this is interesting, or you have a question or something you're curious about, okay? So I'll get you ready. The first video, I'm in it. It's me much younger, so you'll get to see me a bit younger.
Professor?
Yes.
My father actually worked at Steinway & Sons in the 90s when I was growing up.
Oh, really? What did he do?
I think he just, I'm not completely sure. I know he worked with wood, and I think it was placing primer and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Is he still around? I mean, where is he?
Yeah, no, now, I mean, he's an assistant principal in a high school now, so it's definitely, it's a different career path. But he worked there when I was a kid, and I remember I think it was in the summer or in the spring, they would have like a fair, like where all the workers would bring their kids at. That's all I remember. I was young, but it was like a fair where they would have like fairground games and stuff like that.
All right, so ask him, send me an email, ask him what did he do at Steinway and how long was he there? That's the only two questions I have.
Okay,
What was his job? What was his job and how long did he stay at Steinway? If you want to throw in a third question, the third question would be, why did he go to Steinway in the first place? I assume the answer is that it was a good job or that he had an uncle there or a cousin there. But the two questions I'd be interested in is what did he do there and how long was he there? If you want to throw in a third.
Yeah, I think someone in his building worked there and helped him get the job, but I'll ask him those questions.
Yeah, that's usual. And if you want an autographed copy of my book for him, let me know and we'll try to arrange something, okay? I mean, Father's Day is coming up, things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, let's talk about that. We'll see if I can get that to you. Anybody else have questions or Steinway connections, or anybody plays piano in this class or has family members who worked at Steinway?
I play the piano.
Oh, yeah? You want to play a few things for us?
I wish if I could get a piano.
Oh, next time you're at a piano, will you have somebody do a video of you playing?
Sure thing.
And send it to me, even if after the course is over. I mean, it's whenever it happens, I'd like to sort of see you playing because I'm interested in and with your permission, I might use it in my next class.
Sure thing. It's not going to be legendary. I'm telling you that right now.
Okay. And I've got Christian on the drums, you on piano. We may have a band here. I don't know. We may have this. Anybody else have connections to piano playing or Steinway?
I do.
Christian,
Yeah,
what's your connection?
I know how to play a bit of piano as well.
All right, so you're going to send me a video of you playing the drums. Can you do the piano for me also?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll
All
try.
right. Anybody else have a Steinway connection or plays piano?
I do.
You do?
I mean, I play keyboard a little bit. I have one in my room, but I mostly play electric guitar and acoustic and the ukulele.
All right, next time when you're feeling better, send me a quick video of you playing the piano, the electric one in your room, okay?
Okay.
I'd love to see that. Okay, so we got Carmela playing the piano, Atta playing the piano, Christian plays piano and the drums. I can sing, so I think we got it. I think we're on the road. We're going to take this on the road. Anybody else have a piano connection or music connection or a Steinway connection? Okay, and Ivan, you'll let me know about your dad, right?
Yeah, I'll let you know. I already texted him, but he's at work. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so Oleg, the first video, it's called "Study with the Best." That's me, and it's done by CUNY TV, and it was done right after my book came out. And so again, I want you to use the chat to write down what you find interesting, any questions, or what you're curious about, and we'll go over that after the video. Anybody, before we use the chat room, anybody want to say anything?
Very interesting
You found it interesting, good.
and captivating.
Captivating. Anybody else have any comments before we use the chat room?
Yeah, I like the part where you say that you can pull one of the workers out of the factory back then, put him in now, and it wouldn't change much. Because the way they make a piano, it hasn't really changed much, except for a few things.
Yeah, I haven't been back there in a while. I don't know if it's still true, but it was certainly true in I did this video, I think it was 2003. So, and up until this class, I would take you all to the factory. One of the things we're missing is the field trips. And we would go to the factory and you'd see this happening. So it's amazing that it really hasn't changed when so much has changed. Anybody else want to make a comment before we go to the chat room?
Now this is in the college, right?
The what?
The information that we're talking about is in the college or no?
What's in the college?
The information that we just heard about, is it anywhere in the college? No, correct?
Well, you can view this video again. It's on our YouTube site, but we do have a Steinway piano at the college, but the Steinway factory is in Astoria over if you head towards LaGuardia Airport. It's right near there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's use the chat room. And what I want each one of you to do is in response to the video you just saw, just jot down either what interested you in the video, what question you have, what you're curious about. I'll give you a few minutes and then Professor Weinstein and I will respond to it before we see the next video, okay? So let's take 5 minutes or so. And you write in the chat room, each one of you write in the chat room, a reaction to the video in terms of what you found interesting or a question you have or something you're curious about. Now I'll be quiet.
Because I just figured, well, there must be a machine that does this. But no, it's human labor and strength.
Yeah, and they get that technology from the technology of building wheels. I mean, the bent wood technology that where they're bending the frame comes from originally the technology of making wagon wheels and making skis. So the technology of bending wood they took from other other productions. I'll say and particularly the Conestoga wagon. I mean those wheels or making skis, rocking chairs. So they built on others' abilities, but they certainly developed it, and part of it was which wood to layer next to which wood, because each wood had a different drying time. And if you put a piece of wood from one tree next to a piece of wood from another tree, and it had a different drying time, it would split the whole case. And so there was a lot of work that went into the bending of that wood. And if we were at the factory, that's one of the most beautiful moments is when they're bending the frame.
And remarkably, that's still done today.
Yes.
The same way. I mean, but other manufacturers, do they have machinery to do this?
Yeah.
So that's distinctive for Steinway. It's still handmade.
Yes. And Steinway waits for the piano to age, where other manufacturers don't wait. And that's another thing that makes it unique. Let's move on before it starts to feel like an advertisement for Steinway, right?
Well, you didn't tell them the price of the piano yet.
I don't know what the price is currently. I mean, last time I checked, a Steinway grand was well over $125,000.
Yeah, 150,000 easy.
Yeah. That's how you there.
What's up?
Hello. Okay, what interested you was the professor still has swag. That I had swag even back then. What do you mean?
You look cool. That's all I wanted to say. You still look cool then. You look cool now. That's all I said.
Oleg, you're taping this, right? I'm going to play that every morning when I wake up. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful thing to say. And there was a right way that I lifted, by the way. That's not my quote. They say that at the factory. You also how Steinway and Sons only produced maybe, was it 3,000 pianos? That's uprights and grands, and how each one was delicately crafted and built so to perfection, didn't promote the culture. Right. Exactly right. It's not Yamaha. It's not Yamaha. Yamaha makes, I don't know about today, but when I was writing my book, Yamaha would make in 1 week what Steinway made in a year. All right? That's amazing to say, right? So you can see the difference. And I would ask the owners of Steinway at the time, do they find Yamaha competition? And they said, no. If you want to buy a Yamaha, you buy Yamaha. But if you're going to buy a Steinway, you're not thinking about Yamaha. You're buying the best. You're going to buy the best. All right. Thanks for the compliment. What's that?
A Steinway today would cost almost $10,000.
150,000, according to Weinstein. Hey, Pedro, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. What you found interesting, the family came to New York. Yes. German immigrants. What happened is one of their sons was on the wrong side of the revolution in the late 1840s. Charles had to get out of there. So they sent Charles, and Charles is the one who writes back, and like most letters to most immigrant letters, Charles lies about how great it is in New York in terms of his life in New York because he was lonely, and he lures the family to New York, and so they were an immigrant family, and became one of the biggest in North America. Yes.
Wait. He was lonely, so he was like, yo, it's nice out here in New York. You guys should come, even though he was having a hard time out there.
Yes, and Carmela, this is true for most immigrant families. If you all talk to your parents or your grandparents, this happens in all immigrant families. There's a pioneer. There's one person in the family who goes first. In this case, it was Charles.
That was my mom. My mom came here.
All right. And so your mom, like Charles, I could be wrong on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So they're here. They're struggling. It's a struggle to make it. But they don't write that back. They write back glowing things. And when your mom went, where's your mom from?
We were from the Philippines. So I was there in the Philippines, and she and my dad came here first before me and my brother.
So I am sure that your mom came here, and then when your mom or your dad or you, when you went back to the Philippines, you brought gifts, you brought all kinds of, and they thought, oh my gosh, are they doing well? Are they wealthy? But all immigrant families do this. It's a kind of, I don't know, it's not lying, but it's trying to let people know back home that you're doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
Am I hitting something that you understand?
Well, yeah, I mean that's what they would do. I was there till I was 8, but for 4 years they were here. And while we were there, they would send boxes of toys, American toys. And I would be like, yo, this is dope. I get to have like these cool American toys. Like they must be balling out in America. But now that I hear about it as an adult, they're like, no, dude, I was living in an apartment. We were trying to get a job. Like it was a struggle. It wasn't like they just came here and won the lottery.
And that story, Carmela, is same story for Steinway. I'm going to compare Charles to your mother and say they both had this struggle. They both had the same experience. I'll say, to be dramatic, I'll say they lied. It's really not lie. It's myth. I don't have the right word right now. Weinstein, can you help me out with this?
Well, it was a strong belief in what could be. So even if it wasn't happening yet, they felt it would happen.
That's it.
And they couldn't go back. They didn't want to go back.
A strong belief in what could be. And I'm sure most of the students in this class right now are either smiling or nodding because we're touching a story that's true about their parents or their grandparents. Pedro, thanks for leading us into that discussion. Ivan, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, really interesting. Not a whole there's change in the piano factory aside from the few pianos of technology such as electricity and the speed of which adhesive. Yes. We'd like to know more about the contributions, the war effort, and the Nazi takeover of the factory. Great question. I wrote a whole chapter on that. Steinway doesn't want to talk about this, and they certainly weren't happy that I put it in my book. But basically, they were running a factory in Hamburg and a factory in Long Island City. The factory in Hamburg was reporting to the German government, and the factory in Long Island City was reporting to the US government. So you see the issue. 2 factories in 2 countries that are at war with each other, both of them supplying the war effort. In both cases, in New York, the factory here was making coffins, they were making beds, they were making rifle butts. They were making gliders. If you want, I can send you pictures of them making gliders. In the New York factory, it was all women working in the factory because the men were off to war. And it was the first time that women were brought into the factory to work. In Hamburg, they were supplying the Nazi government with airplane parts, also with rifle butts, also with beds, but also they continued making pianos, and the Nazis were using Steinway to bring in money. They were selling the pianos and they were using it to bring in cash so they could finance the Nazi regime. There were members of the Nazi party that controlled the Steinway factory among the workers, so they all had to go out and march at the parades. And you could see why, in terms of public relations, that they wouldn't want me to put that chapter in my book. And they were very frightened during the war that there would be an outcry against them because they were German during World War II. And so in the store window at Steinway Hall on 57th Street, they put pictures of all the Steinway families dressed up in military uniform who were serving in the military, you know, with flags. And so they really tried to promote, oh, no, we're supportive of the war effort. I could say a lot more, but Weinstein, you want to add anything to that?
No, that's quite a lot.
Yeah. Ivan, you got questions?
No, that's good. Thank you, Professor. I'm gonna have to read it in your book.
Yeah, get my book, and also, I get 10%, so it's money in my pocket. But I think you'd enjoy that chapter. Okay, Arbaz, you there?
Yes, Professor.
All right. The idea that the largest men in North America during the 18th was also involved in making. Isn't that great? Yeah. And the thing, Arbaz, I want to add to that. It was women. It was women making the gliders during World War II. It was women making the coffins. It was women in the factory. And this was true of most factories throughout the country, that the men went off to war and there was an opportunity for women to do factory work. And at the end of the war, the women didn't want to leave the factory, but they were pushed out as the men came back with I'm going to call it propaganda. I don't know what Weinstein wants to call it, but there was all kinds of propaganda, all kinds of publications. Oh, the women should be with their families. Oh, it's bad for the children, for the women to work. Give the boys their jobs back. And so women who had a unique experience during World War II to work in the factories and loved it were basically, after the war was over, we said, okay, thank you very much. You worked very hard, but now we don't need you. Stephen, you want to add to that?
No, again, that's the story. But didn't we decide that it really wasn't government propaganda so much as societal propaganda? Meaning the media was pushing the notion that the American family needed women at home to raise the family.
Yes, I agree.
So it was for the good of the American society.
All the magazine articles, right? All of the public, all the popular culture media was all saying, "Oh, you can't do this to your children. You've got to go back home." And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay, Tiffany, you there?
Yes.
Okay, you'd like to know more about the history of Hamburg. So what happened to the Hamburg factory during World War? Well, I just answered that. The Hamburg factory is still there. I visited the Hamburg factory, and it's became very important after the war in the sense of rebuilding it. Hamburg was firebombed during the war, so the factory was leveled. And so after the war, Steinway workers went around picking up any metal parts they could find. And the first thing that Steinway does after the war is not build piano. They publish piano music because Hamburg was firebombed and all the piano music was burned. So it's a very interesting story. After the war, Steinway says, wait a minute, we better publish piano music. We better get sheet music out there. And so they go into the business of publishing sheet music because all the paper in Hamburg had burned because Hamburg was firebombed by the British Air Force. And I don't know if the US Air Force firebombed. I think it was the British, right, Stephen?
That I'm not sure, but I'm wondering, how was the reconstruction financed?
The reconstruction was financed by the Marshall Plan. The money came from the federal government to rebuild it. And Steinway was really upset that the Marshall Plan was giving money to Yamaha, because Yamaha was in the motorcycle business and it was not in the piano business. And the Marshall Plan gave Yamaha money to go into the piano business. And Steinway went bananas over that. They said, what are you doing? You're fine. And the British government was against rebuilding Hamburg because the British had their own piano makers and they wanted the US out of that market in Europe. So there was friction between the British government and the US government. The US government said, no, we're going to finance this. We're going to rebuild Hamburg. And because of that, when I visited the Hamburg factory, it was much more modern than the factory in Astoria, much more modern than the factory in Astoria.
Did the American branch help finance it at all? Did they provide money?
They provided some money, but it was a lot of federal money. And then eventually, when they sell the company to CBS puts a lot of money into the Hamburg factory. They didn't have the kind of cash they needed to rebuild that factory.
Yeah, because at the end of World War II, who could possibly be wealthy enough to buy a piano? Very few, I would think.
Well, if you're only making $3,000 a year, you don't need that many.
Yeah.
But you're right. They had piano sales, and they were starting to sell uprights. They also went into making cabinets for televisions, cabinets for radios. So you're right. I mean, selling pianos was difficult, and so they started making cabinets for other things like radios, televisions, things like that. But good question. Who had money to buy a piano after World War II? Narissa, what you found interesting is that the company only produced 3,000 pianos each year, as opposed to other like Yamaha, but each of those 3,000 pianos was a masterpiece of craftsmanship. Yeah, that's their sales point. What they missed in their because they were so focused on being the best, what they missed in the mass market was the upright. So in terms of profit, they missed that boat because of their focus on craft, because they're focused on being so special. They ignored the upright market, which eventually became the big profit market. And they really didn't get into that market. To this day, the Steinway upright is really not that good. And they really never focused on the upright because of their focus on the grand pianos. But because of that, profit was sacrificed because in retrospect, they felt they should have gotten into the upright market and mass production. Brian, you there? Brian? Hello, Brian.
Yeah,
all right. What interested you the most was the success of the family and how much attention and detail they put in each, compared to other factors. Steinway and Sons only put other, right. Okay, I covered that. You got anything to follow up on that, Brian, or you're good?
Nah, just to follow up on that, I like the quote too, the slogan, the right way, the wrong way, and the Steinway.
Yeah, you know what? When the workers, I met the workers, I don't know if I met Ivan's father, but I met the workers. They didn't like that because they felt that it was dictatorial.
No?
They wouldn't say it in a nice way. When they would look at me, they'd say, you know, Professor Lieberman, here there's a right way, there's a wrong way, and there's a Steinway. And it wasn't said in a loving way. It was said like, you know, even if I do it right, I got it wrong because I haven't done it the Steinway. You know, so
I think it was a good slogan because, you know, like every business has a good slogan that, you know, pushes them to the top. And I feel like that was a good one, you know? It's catchy.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Daisy, you there? Daisy, are you there? Or are you helping?
Yes.
You're good. Okay, it's one of the very few places that still makes piano today. Yes. Isn't that, Daisy, you put out something so important. And let me see if I can phrase this. Like, when so much of manufacturing has gone offshore, when so much of industry has left the United States, right? So much of what we make is gone. This company, going back to the 1850s, and certainly in Queens to the 1880s, is still here. That is amazing.
Yeah, didn't we say it's the oldest company in Queens?
I'm sure.
There's nothing in Queens any older.
I'm sure. So Daisy, good for you. I mean, it is an amazing story, which is one of the reasons I wanted to write about it, of a factory, an industry that doesn't leave. And when I asked them, why didn't you leave? They said, because of New York. Because New York is the cultural center of the world. Where are we going to go? You know, where are we going to go? To Mobile? Where are we going to go? And I mean, they're not going anywhere. This is the cultural center of the world. And this is where a piano like Steinway should be, to tap into the cultural center of the world, to tap into the artists, also the skilled craftspeople. And they had it. They were producing pianos in Hamburg. They were producing pianos in London. They thought of producing pianos in Paris. They never did. But they didn't leave because of New York City. And that's great. Thank you, Daisy, for leading me to that thinking. Anything else, Daisy? Follow up, or you're good?
Do they still make watches at the what's it called? It's like it's on
Bulova?
27th Avenue.
Bulova?
And yeah,
Yeah,
Bulova.
below.
What did somebody else say about Bulova?
No, it's funny because my my grandfather worked there.
Ivan, you are really in and of yourself. You are the spine of Queens. Your grandfather worked at Bulova?
Yeah, I think maybe for I think it was for a year. I think it was in the 70s
And was
or
your
in the late
grandfather,
60s.
did your grandfather have vision problems?
No,
How are
no,
his eyes? No?
his eyes are good.
His eyes were good. Because a lot of people who worked at Boulevard, and eventually Boulevard, I think, becomes a school, right? I mean, doesn't it eventually, when they leave, it becomes a school for training people? Weinstein, you know anything
Uh,
about it?
the building now is like a few offices and stuff, but I think it's still called the Bulova
Yeah.
Center or something.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not there. I mean, to get back to what Daisy's question, so they're not making watches there anymore. Bulova left. But Weinstein, you can jump in. My connection with Bulova when I was a kid was that it had this watch you could wear underwater or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure. I didn't have one, but I remember.
That was the advertising for Bulova. It was somebody in a swimming pool or something. And they'd come up from the swimming pool, they'd have their Bulova watch on. And they'd say, yes, Bulova, you can wear it while
Well,
you're
I remember it was a higher quality than Timex.
right. It's a higher quality. Okay, we got 2 minutes left for this class, which I'm having too much fun with. So we did Daisy. Christian, it's very captivating how Steinway Family came up with the invention of making pianos under the new name and how they would not put workers to work. It helps to understand how they, yes. They were obsessed with making the best piano. When they were developing the piano, they would go to parties. They would go to your home. If they saw a piano, they'd lift up the cover of the piano. They'd look inside. I mean, they were just crazed over the technology of making the best piano. And we have letters in the archive, volumes and volumes, hundreds of letters of writing back and forth to each other with drawings of, I saw this today, and I saw that today, and I saw this kind of action. And you're absolutely right. They were just very focused on making a better piano. It was just everything they did, and we have that documented in letters.
I've been there before at the archive in LaGuardia.
Oh, good. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
All right, we're running out of time. It's now 2:00.
Mm.
So I will look at the rest of these questions as, let's see. Well, if you want to stay, I can just finish them off. We've got Carmela. I like the quote that was right. Yes. I appreciate also the business of, okay, Sarkai, I got many interesting information. Also the 3,000 pianos. I'm surprised to learn that during the Second World War. My question is, why does the US government did not take any action against them? I think the US government doesn't take action against a company because they could never prove anything that they did wrong. Simon basically said, look, that was a factory. We had no control over them. They did what they had to do, and we did what we had to do. So there was no proof until I went out there and interviewed the workers to see any connection. But there was a connection, but it was never proved. It's interesting how a bunch of companies like one to make music and such were also involved. Yes. How would they afford those instruments? Well, they made money. Interesting, the country of Steinway coming the US to the Allied cause in World War II, in which factories contributed. Yes, all of the factories were contributing to the war effort. They were taken over by the US government as Biden came in and took over the manufacturing of vaccines. This right of the president and the Congress to come in and say, look, we're at war and we need all of the manufacturing to help the war effort. Okay, we don't have time for the second video. Weinstein predicted this. So we're not gonna see the second video. I have an important announcement. There's no class next week. So we will not be meeting next week. I know you're gonna miss me terribly, but no class next week, Tuesday or Thursday. I'll see you again a week from Tuesday. So I know you'll miss me.
Wait, why?
What's that?
Why no class?
Why no class? Well, okay, because I'm going through a few medical procedures
Oh.
and nothing serious, but I'll be in the hospital and I'll also be seeing a series of doctors. Don't worry about me, but certainly will be in your prayers. But I have some medical stuff I have to take care of next week. I'm blushing, but I'll be fine. I'll be fine. But next week is my week where all of these doctors look me over, fix me up a little bit, and deliver me back to you, so I can be as vibrant and charming as I can be.
Well,
So,
good luck. Stay
thank you.
Feel better,
Thank you,
Professor.
thank you. Put me in your prayers. It's nothing serious, but I do have to be, in the hospital for a day, and I have other things I have to check out. But it's good at my age for people to check you out. It's good for them to keep their eye on me. So I'm getting emotional. I'll miss you, and I really love this class. I love working with you, and I'll see you a week from Tuesday. Okay? Take care.
Take care, Professor.
Yeah,
Professor, good luck.
Take care, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your good wishes.
Take care, Professor. Stay well.
I will. They're going to take good care of me.
Yeah.